Artemis Fowl. This is a live-action film adaptation of the very popular children's book series. This is a film that's been trying to get made for close to 20 years. I think it was 2001 they originally announced that they wanted to make this thing into a movie. It was originally going to get a theatrical release, but because of the coronavirus pandemic was moved exclusively to Disney Plus, and this thing has been getting lambasted by critics. As of the time of this recording, it currently holds an 11% on Rotten Tomatoes. Film critic and short film director Chris Stuckman referred to this as one of the worst live-action films that Disney has ever made. In my opinion, he was being far too nice. This is a movie that has been in development hell for close to 20 years. It should have stayed there. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and before I rip it to shreds, which I'm going to take great pleasure in doing, I do feel it's necessary to mention some things that I think are actually good. That balance is important. Now here, the scales of bad heavily outweigh the good. It's like a fat kid on a teeter-totter. It just goes kerplunk, but I do need to mention some things that I think are okay. The biggest one being, I think Josh Gad is good in this. Josh Gad is a professional actor. You know, a great film is the result of a bunch of people individually doing their jobs correctly, and a poor film is what happens when a bunch of people do their jobs poorly. Josh Gad did everything he could. He showed up to work every day, ready to work, and I thought he gave a good performance. This film is directed by Kenneth Branagh. Kenneth Branagh is a good filmmaker. He's directed good Shakespeare adaptations. He did the first Thor movie, which I know there's some people nowadays who kind of poo-poo it because it maybe hasn't aged as well as some of the other Marvel films, but there was a time where people thought that a Thor film could not work. And guess what? Kenneth Branagh did it, and he did it pretty darn well. This is a talented filmmaker, and there are moments, and they are seldom, I can count them on one hand, but there are moments in which there's neat shot composition, and there are moments of pretty good cinematography. And that's the result of Kenneth Branagh being a talented filmmaker. That is where my compliments for this movie end. This film, and I am not the first to bring this up, nor will I be the last to bring this up, is Exposition the movie. The entire first third, dude, even like 40 minutes, honestly, of this film are just explaining to you who these characters are, what their motivations are, where they come from, and it is so clunky and so awkward. Exposition, especially in sci-fi and fantasy, is essentially a necessity. You have to have some sort of exposition in your movies. I understand that. And I think a recent film that did a good job with its exposition was Avengers Endgame. That was a movie that had to explain the rules of time travel, what the mission was, what they were trying to accomplish. But if you intertwine it with good dialogue, you forget that you're listening to or watching exposition unfold on screen. Here, oh my god, it's so clunky. I mean, literally, there are just moments of voiceover saying, these are the dwarves, this is what they do, these are the goblins, this is what they do, this is Artemis, this is where he's from, this is his dad, this is what his dad likes to talk to him about. This film is like characters having their Facebook profile pages read off to you on screen. Like, there's literally a moment where they say, this is Dom. Dom is Artemis's butler. Dom has a niece. Dom's niece is 12 years old, just like Artemis. Dom is a butler, but he doesn't like to be called butler. He protects Artemis. Like, oh my god, show, don't tell, please. Now, I was saying that, praying that they would get to the story and get to the dialogue, but when you do, I mean, this is one of the worst premises and some of the worst dialogue I've heard in a movie in a long time. Now look, I'm a geek, right? And I can accept geek culture. At some point in my life, I'll probably get the Spider-Man logo and the Batman logos tattooed on my wrist. I've got a Spider-Man doll right here, so I'm willing to accept geeky stuff, but this is a premise that is like for little kids. I mean, this is the type of thing that like a nerd such as myself looks at and goes, dude, this thing is for dorks. And look, like I said, if it's for little kids and if it's well executed, that's fine, but it's not well executed. It's very unwell executed. Dude, there is dialogue in this movie I didn't even know they were allowed to use in films anymore. There's literally a moment where a fairy is fighting a troll and says, hey, why don't you pick on someone your own size? There's another moment in which a character also fighting a troll says, why don't you get out of here, you big meanie? I hate this, man. Like, I saw the movie Cats a couple months ago during the pandemic. I did a commentary track for the movie Cats on maizenbrew.com. And when I did that, I referred to that film as the worst movie I've ever seen relative to its budget. This is not that far off from Cats, honestly. The only reason it's not, they both have Judi Dench in them. What you doing, Judy? What are you doing? This is one of our finest actresses. What is she doing in these movies? If she was like an up-and-comer, if she didn't have like the acting equivalent of tenure, her career would be something you could put butter and jam on because that shit would be toast. What is she doing in these movies? Hey, look, it's not worse than Cats, because, like I said, Josh Gad is good, and Cats, in fairness, had the WTF factor of the digital fur technology, but man, it is damn close. So I don't know. I could go on about this all day. The story is complete nonsense. The characters, with the exception of Josh Gad, even Josh Gad to a certain extent, are just cardboard cutouts. The acting outside of Gad is abysmal. I mean, across the board, this kid playing Artemis Fowl, and I don't want to dogpile on him because he is a kid, but he ain't an actor. This dude has the charisma of a sardine can. You know, there's not a single line of dialogue that so much has made me smile. Outside of those few moments of cinematography, I think the film in general looks murky and kind of ugly. And ultimately, like, all this stuff that I'm saying are legitimate complaints. And they bog this film down and shove its head underwater and try to drown it. But all of that could be somewhat nullified. The effects of that awfulness could be lessened if you just liked Artemis Fowl. If you just liked the world that Artemis Fowl lived in. The first few Harry Potter movies are not perfect movies, but you like Harry, and you like this wizarding world. It really does feel like home. Here, this world is just ugly and awful and stupid. I know that sounds so childish, just saying, oh, it's stupid. It is downright stupid. And I'm sure this film will have its defenders, especially people saying, well, you know, it's for kids. I don't buy that. Kids will like anything because it has brightly colored moving images on a screen. That's not fair. All the movies I've reviewed so far, I haven't liked any of them on this rebooted version of this YouTube channel. I get that. Maybe I have been a little bit too harsh on some of them. I think I was a bit too hard on The Lovebirds. I still hate it, but giving it a 2, that was a bit rough. But I'll say this, those movies, they don't aim particularly high. They aren't trying to be more than what they claim to be. The Wrong Missy is not trying to be Casablanca. This is a film that believes that it is the start of this wonderful new franchise. $125 million were put into this pile of garbage. I am a firm believer in the art of film. I believe film has the ability to change how we view a genre or a medium or even how we view certain people. I believe it is that powerful. I hate when something like this is just thrown out to the media claiming to be entertainment. It's not. It's shallow. It's hollow. There's not a single moment of heart in this entire thing. You don't buy these characters. It's ugly to look at. It is one of the worst big-budget Hollywood films I have ever seen. It makes me angry that there's this many talented people attached to it. I think it is a brutal, brutal piece of swill that I will never, ever watch again, nor will I ever recommend anyone watch this, even if you love these books. If you think that the Artemis Fowl series is better than Catcher in the Rye, I advise you, do not watch this. Do not support it. Do not view it. It is dreck. I give it a 1 out of 10. This is up there amongst some of the worst movies I've ever seen. If you like it, fine. I will not value anything you have to say regarding opinions on movies ever again. But you are allowed to like it. Go ahead and enjoy it. Live in that world. That's fine. I do not value your opinion on film. And maybe you won't value mine. That's understandable. I've probably seen more movies than you have. I think I know a little bit more about what does and does not make a good movie, but a whole lot of it is subjective. I understand that. I couldn't stand this movie. I think it's a blight on cinema. I think it's one of the worst films I've ever seen. I found it insulting. I found it ugly. I found it completely shallow, and I really didn't like it. Yeah, I think that's the general gist of what I've been trying to say. Artemis Fowl is Fartemis Bowel. All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Castellani2014. The link is in the description of this video. Whew, I will see you guys around. 2 more movie reviews coming this weekend for The Five Bloods and The King of Staten Island. I will see you guys soon. Hopefully, both those movies are better than this.